Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for coming this morning and joining us for the third annual Paul, I always have to say that carefully because I don't say Paul and Louise Baker Award presentation. Hopefully next year we'll be able to do this at our DSP event where all the DSPs can be there to celebrate your award. But today we're going to do it here and then we're going to play it virtually on our event day, right? So for those of you who don't know, this award honors Paul and Louise Baker and their legacy of not only implementing but developing services for individuals with disabilities. Raising a child with a disability and no services being at your disposal must be a very daunting task, and they picked that up and ran with it, not only for their daughter Paula, but for families in the community outreaching throughout the state of Illinois. I am quite sure that their influence is what led us here today. I don't think residential options are challenged and limited, or the mission that we have, which is solely to provide services for individuals with disability, would exist without them. So that's what this award embodies. And Crystal Wilborn is the recipient of this year, and definitely embodies that dedication, commitment, and perseverance in serving individuals with disabilities. With the length of time that Crystal has been providing services for us, she's seen a lot of different changes in the state of Illinois' requirements. She worked first in an ICFDD program, which turned into a SILA program, and just that alone is a lot of changes. And Crystal has definitely rolled with those punches and made everything work. And the center of her work is always the residents, and making sure that they are happy and that they feel well cared for. And I think they do. I think every client that Crystal works for knows that she cares for them and she loves them and will do anything for them. And not only the individuals who live at the group home she works at, but even the individuals who have moved on, whether they still live in our agency or they've moved on to other agencies, Crystal still supports them in any way that they need support. So that's something that I learned over and over again about Crystal and her support of individuals. So, I'm going to go ahead and, because I want to talk more about the award, but we'll go ahead and we'll let Sandy do that. Our presenter for the day is Sandy Curran. She is the daughter of Paul and Louise Baker, and she is an advocate in her own right as a special ed teacher for her entire career. She also is Paula's guardian. She has served as a board member for Residential Options, and I'm sure has supported us in many, many ways. I know she is the biggest fan for DSPs in Residential Options and probably throughout the state of Illinois. So let's welcome Sandy Curran.
To be here again, and I am your biggest advocate because I lived with Paula Baker as a child. Paula went to private placement when she was about 14 or 15, and I was Paula, my sister Betty, me, and my brother Phil. So I can tell you stories which I've told at some of the staffings of Paula. We learned she would have these seizure burst-throughs periodically, and when that happened, somebody else hit the deck and we all hit the floor because things were going to be flying. So there's a lot of things I learned, and I know taking care of someone with a disability, being a caregiver, is probably one of the hardest jobs and probably not the most appreciated until you had to do that. So I'm excited today to be here to present the third annual Paul and Louise Baker Award and Excellence in Service. This is what this stands for. Today I honor and remember my parents, Paul and Louise Baker, and my sister Betty, who passed away a year ago with ALS. And so Betty, who also dedicated her life as a special educator and also eventually became a director, assistant director in Will County, and she one day as her progression in her ALS was going on, she said, "Who would have thought that I was raised with Paula and I advocated through my entire career for people with disabilities, and here I am now in a wheelchair and I'm disabled. So it kind of adds a little bit more to me to include her also as someone to recognize in this award. I'm going to give you a little bit of history. Diane asked me to do this, and I kind of compressed it a little bit to give you an idea of why I felt this was important to honor my mom and dad and their legacy. The Paula and Louise Baker Excellence in Service is in honor of the legacy of my parents and what they left as trailblazers as they fought to bring services to disabled children in the 1950s and the 1960s. In 1948, Paula was born, and she was the firstborn. At the age of 3, they realized that she wasn't developing like other children around her. And so they consulted with some specialists, and they concluded that Paula had had brain damage. She had a cerebral hemorrhage at birth. And so they realized then that the pediatrician we had was Dr. B.B. Berman, and I think he probably was, without all the technology we have today, he told my mom when she finally noticed it, he said, I've known something was wrong for quite some time, but I wanted you to see it first. And then once they did, and he kind of said, I think she had, her brain is irritated is what he called it back then. And later on we learned that she had a cerebral hemorrhage at birth. They really wanted what was best for Paula. They were always advocates. They began their journey. Their pursuits eventually led them to the St. Louis Central Institute for the Deaf, eventually to Barnes Hospital, which led them to St. Louis University Hospital, and eventually to Furman Deloge. At Furman Deloge, they had a cerebral palsy nursery school 3 days a week. And so she was able to get in. She had mild symptoms. I've noticed it as she's gotten older that she kind of, I can see it progressing a little bit. But she had enough to get in. And so my mom and dad, they didn't have a car. They lived in Granite City. They had to go to St. Louis and take transportation. And my dad worked at Granite City Steel, and he was on shift work. So no matter what he was working, when he got home in the days of preschool, my mom would pack a picnic lunch and a blanket, and they would get on the bus, and they would take Paula over to Furman Deloge, and they would drop her off. My mom always told the story about there was a priest, I guess maybe it was a Catholic-based hospital, I'm not sure. And he would come in, and he always had on the cassock, and she called him Superman. So Superman would come and get her and take her in. So my mom and dad then would drop her off for the 3 hours she was in preschool, and they would go across the street to a park, and my dad would sleep, and they would eat lunch, and they would wait, and then when she was done, they'd go get her and get back on the bus and go back. So that's dedication. First of all, that they pursued that, and second of all, that they went through what they did to get there. There was no financial support currently and available services for the disabled at that time in the 1950s and 1960s. From that moment on, our parents became advocates of not only Paula, but for also other disabled children in the Madison County area. And in 1955, our parents helped to charter the organization known as Association for Retarded Children, which we know as ARC. They became lobbyists for the rights of children with disabilities, and due to the efforts of this organization, Paula was fortunate enough to attend local school in a regular classroom. Now, my mother would tell me there was a teacher at Marshall School in Granite City called Mrs. Waddington, and Mrs. Waddington was a first grade teacher, and she let Paula come for a half a day for 2 years. So Paula had that exposure to being in a school setting. And she learned. Paula, if you're ever around Paula, you can tell there's something going on all the time in her head. So she was fortunate to be there in the regular classroom. However, Paula's disabilities and her behaviors did not allow her to continue after 2 years. And this is when my parents then became the advocates and proactive in hiring a special education teacher for the district. Now, this was kind of a new concept at this time, so they're kind of stepping out of the box there. The Association for Retarded Children organization funded the education of a young lady who was wanting to pursue a career in the special education field. So they worked with the local school district to create a trainable classroom in a public school building. And then they bought a bus to transport special needs students and the children with special needs to this school. I have to tell you, I don't have a whole lot of memories. I have a few, because I was younger, probably 7 years older than I am. But I remember riding that bus, shotgun, with my mom. They bought, and it wasn't a school bus. In my recollection, it was just kind of a short, almost looked like a big van that they rehabbed. And I still remember stopping in West Granite at certain places. I don't know why that's still in my mind, but I do. So I was there with them from day one. They had a vision. They had a dream that all children would be given the opportunity for an education and a life with quality. That's the key word, is the quality. So in their honor, our family wants to keep this legacy alive. We want to celebrate the selfless efforts in recognizing the worth of all life, the determination and the stamina it took for them to continue fighting when time after time disappointment blocked their mission. And today, we are going to celebrate and recognize those that go the extra mile and give their best so that those with disabilities can live a life filled with love, happiness, and purpose. Today is a continuing dream for our family. It was important to us that Mom and Dad's memory, their legacy, live on. And through their tenacity and that hard work, their dream was achieved. And through the vision of Challenge Unlimited and residential options, the dream has continued. My sister Paula, as many others, have been given the opportunity to live a fulfilled life in a home, a place that is based on the family concept. The residences that clients live in are their home, their family, and their friends. They watch TV together, they eat meals together, they share special events together, they go out into the community together, and yes, they also have spats and fights, just like living at home. The family concept is only possible because of those who work within the facilities. This is a thankless job at times, but rewarding as well. You bring stability that is needed by just showing up each day, being part of their daily lives, and loving them unconditionally. It's not an easy task, but your dedication brings you the strength to manage. To be honest, loving your own blood family and children can be difficult, to say the least. But to love and care for someone else's family and someone else's children is a blessing. And actually, it's a gift that you've been given. So thanks to each of you that have chosen to serve in this capacity. What an honor it is for those of you who have been nominated by your peers to receive this award. As I read the comments, I was just overwhelmed by the respect and admiration that they feel for you and the commitment and passion they have for what you do for others. They acknowledge and they appreciate you and your dedication. And by receiving a nomination for this award is an honor. This year, Residential Options is matching the donation. This act of generosity really touched my soul. I literally cried when I saw that. The company is validating your worth and your importance in not only the lives of the clients, but also in the company, what you represent. And I applaud Residential Options for the recognition of all your efforts. As we know, the past 2 years, it's been very, very difficult. And this continued dedication by the staff is the difference between it being a job versus being your passion. And I'm sure through these trials, you've been very frustrated and many times at the end of your rope. But as my grandma Baker used to say, you just pull up your big girl panties and you just trudge on. And yes, I'm sure there was a little fussing and a lot of whining, but your commitment, your loyalty, and your dedication to your family was more important. So today, it is an honor and a privilege to present the third annual Paul and Louise Baker Excellence in Service Award to Crystal Wilborn, who serves at Lewis and Clark. Crystal, you are the epitome of fulfilling the dream of my parents, and through your vision and your love, you has helped to create a home, a family at Lewis and Clark. It's not just a job, this is your calling. It's your passion. Your clients are your family, and you are their family. The most difficult thing that a parent can ever do is to entrust their child to another person. However, sometimes the circumstances just dictate decisions that we're just forced to make. We thank God every day for Crystal and others that show love and compassion. You embrace your responsibilities, and they are just part of you. You don't close that door on Lewis and Clark when you end your shift. You're always there, always there. I commend you for your loyal service to your home as well as to residential options. For 19 years, that's a long time, 19 years, and I know there are many others that have been there for that length of time as well. But for 19 years, you've dedicated your career to serving others with needs and residential options. And longevity is a commitment. It's a commitment through the good and the bad. It's a commitment of loyalty and perseverance. Crystal, you have learned through your experience, and then through that learning, you become a mentor to others in the field. And each year that you've served, you have increased your professional development, and your value increases not only to you and your clients, but to your company. This population is challenging, and I'm sure some days you just want to give up. But you have stayed the course, and your experience and your endurance has made an impact on the clients, on the company, and your coworkers. Thank you for accepting the challenges that are thrown at you daily and sometimes hourly, and probably sometimes minute by minute, and not giving up. There are so many lives you had touched that you may not even know. As a family member, I will testify that what you and others do in the homes, what you do every day for your clients, is greatly appreciated, and you have my admiration and my eternal gratitude. The quality of life you provide is commendable. The families that are active in the lives of their disabled loved ones admire and recognize your commitment. You have given them peace of mind, knowing that their loved one is loved for and cared for. You have allowed the clients a normal life and given the family the peace of mind knowing that they made the right decision, and that's a difficult decision. It was uplifting to hear the comments written by those that nominated you for this award. Above and beyond was a common thread. She encourages independence in her clients and offers learning opportunities to practice the skills. Going to the grocery store and shopping, she assists with the process and allows them to experience and participate in the shopping experience. That alone takes a lot of patience. Socialization is very important, and she facilitates activities for the small groups to interact with their friends and other neighboring homes. Family interaction is very important. She maintains a good relationship with guardians and individuals, and she also fosters ongoing relationships and communication between the clients and their families. As a guardian and a sister, that is very important, to know that you always are included in what goes on. Appointments are an important part of daily life in the homes, and you always communicate well with the medical professionals and also encourage your clients to advocate for themselves at their appointments. It's an important. Supporting and training staff is significant in the success of the home, and so Crystal is always willing to share her knowledge with new staff and is active in the training. You will never know how important you are at that, to mentor somebody else and help them and give them guidance, because what you've learned is a wealth of knowledge that can't be written down in a book. It's called experience, and kudos to you for that. Going above and beyond is an attribute that you excel at. She is always willing to cover shifts, creative in helping and scheduling issues, and support her coworkers when needed. I know the last 2 years this has been a royal nightmare for everybody. And to be willing to step up and go the extra mile, go above and beyond to make sure that your clients, those in your home, your family are covered and taken care of, that's commendable. It is commendable. You are proactive in integrating your home activities into the community. You're attending local events. And that's always difficult too, because when you're taking a group of, I was a teacher for 35 years, field trips, they were fun, but oh boy, I had to go home and take a few Advil after that one. So that's important that they're out in the community and they enjoy that. They need that socialization and the community needs to see them, because you don't understand until you witness. And I've noticed that a lot. I wrote when I have Paula at home with my grandchildren. My children were kind of raised around Paula, my grandchildren. You know, it's interesting because when she's gone, they always ask questions. And it's a learning experience. And it's a learning experience when you go out into the community. And sometimes it makes you thankful that you've got what you've got. You cover shifts for people. To me, that was a big one. And the understanding, I liked this, that you do the me time one-on-one with your clients, taking time for them. That's important. And I know and I always go back to Paula because that's my experience. But you know, when Paula gets to go out on a lunch date or whatever, it's really important to her. She enjoys doing that. And I think that's important that they understand that they're also part of a group, but they're also an individual. So that is also important for them. Crystal, you are building a culture and leading by example. You are obviously investing yourself in your creative thought into how you make an extra time and special moments for all of your residents, because they're your family. So this is basically what this award embodies. You're respected and valued as an employee, and you're always willing to step up when needed for staff and clients. You embrace the opportunity to fill in as a team leader or assist the manager and as a mentor to her employees. Today, I applaud all of the DSPs who make a difference in the lives of others. You may never truly know the scope of how you impact the lives, not only of your clients, but also their families. As a sister and guardian, I thank you for your dedication and your commitment. What you do every day is important and essential, and you make a difference in the lives of so many. My sister Paula has been with Challenge Unlimited for about 30 years, and I truly believe that God opened this door of opportunity for our family, and He has blessed Paula and our family by providing a loving, a supportive, and quality of life. I know how hard you work every day, every hour, and every minute to ensure a safe and meaningful environment. And I also acknowledge the trials and the tribulations that you encounter. I have admiration and appreciation for your undying commitment to providing quality of life, respect, and dignity to those in your care. You know your family member is in good hands when the staff goes the extra mile to make special events. I got a real big kick out of Paula when I got pictures of her. Her birthday was in August, sitting in her grass skirt, funky sunglasses, and a light around her pink helmet. They decorated, they even FaceTimed me so I could see all the decorations. They decorated and planned a special luau party for her 74th birthday. All that was missing in all of this was she didn't have on a coconut bra. Yeah, she probably would have loved to have that too. They know how she loves a party, how she loves her balloons, and how she loves to dance. Of course, we have to say no to high heels and pantyhose, because when you ask her what shoes, I'll say, what do you want? She'll say high heels. Not gonna happen. Yeah. So, Crystal, on behalf of the Baker family, we present this token of our gratitude for your continuation to honor my parents and their legacy by bringing quality of life and serving those that are unable to do for themselves. It's people like you and all of you out here that allow families to have peace knowing their loved one is taken care of and allows to go on with their lives as well. Never, never underestimate the impact any of you have and what you're making in the lives of your clients. Each night before you go to bed, you just look in that mirror and you know that you're an exceptional person for what you do for others. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, want me to? So thank you so much for all that you've done. I was just excited to read what your coworkers talked about you, and I know that you're doing a good job, and I know that you're loved, and I know that you're valued here.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yay, Crystal!
Well, I held it together the whole time and didn't cry. So let's see if I can make it through this without crying. All right. So I want to thank the Baker family. It's truly an honor to be the third annual recipient of this award, Inter-Residential Options. I also want to thank the person who nominated me. It just validates that someone does see the hard work, dedication, and efforts I at least put forth on the daily, not only for the clients, but for the team and for the home as a whole. Also, knowing that someone actually took the time out to say all those nice things about me is appreciated beyond words. Okay, I'm not gonna make it through this. Okay, I'm gonna try, because nobody can read this but me, because it's yeah. Okay, so on October 7th, I will have been with the company for 20 years. Shout out to Brenda, my fellow OG, we actually were hired on the same day. I believe my dedication comes from knowing that I'm at least one consistent thing for the clients. They have had people come and go out of their lives, and unfortunately there have been way too many. For them, I want to represent trust, comfort, stability, and just to be a familiar face they can rely on. There are so many memories and moments that I reflect on that I will forever carry with me. And every client, past and present, will always hold a special place in my heart. But I do have one that pulls on my heartstrings just a tad bit more. He cannot say my name, so he always calls me Carol. Him and I have always had a special bond. Every morning I walk into work, it's either, I'm hungry, or Carol, I want food. He not long ago was diagnosed with dementia. And we all know dementia will never get better, it's gonna get worse. So when I'm stressed out, overwhelmed, and just ready to throw in the towel, I remind myself that I need to be there with him to help him through this now difficult journey. I need to be his trust, his comfort, his stability, that familiar face, and his forever Carol. Thank you to everybody that came out to support me today. Well, it was like a 3-pager, but then I narrowed it down to a 1-page.
So, or like I said, this is your check. I just signed it this morning.
So we'll be like,
Yes. I want you to stand in this side.
over that line.
But we're gonna take all kind of pictures.
Okay, I probably need to fix my face.
You look good. You look
Okay.
good. You didn't cry.
Oh no, just a little bit. I held it in pretty good.
Okay, there you go.
Is this like a good?
It's great.
You look like Vanna White.
It's just, that's fine.
I don't know if I'm not good.
Yes, you are. You look like Vanna White. It looks great.
Okay.
Perfect. Now you know we're gonna want to take a